Mr. President, ministers, Your Serene Highness, wherever you are, all of you, we come speaking many different languages, but we all speak ocean, right? The ocean brings us together, no matter who you are, where you've come from, what language you speak, whatever. The ocean touches each of us with every breath we take, every drop of water we drink. The ocean touches all of life on Earth. Imagine Earth without the ocean. Imagine Earth without life. There would be no climate without the ocean. There would be rocks. There might be a little bit of water. But it is the ocean that has shaped the early Earth into a habitable planet in a universe that is really not very friendly to the likes of us or the rest of life on Earth as we know it. I think in the 21st century, perhaps for the very first time in all of human history, we're beginning to have a shred of humility, knowing that the Earth doesn't really center on us. We can change the Earth. There's evidence, a lot of evidence of that, especially in my lifetime, your lifetime, the lifetime of 10-year-olds. We can see how humans are altering the nature of nature. We are so powerful. We've altered the climate. Climate has always changed throughout the history of the Earth, sometimes warmer, sometimes cooler. But for the last 10,000 years, Earth has been particularly friendly to us. The climate has been particularly compatible with the rise, with the prosperity of humankind. Thousands of years ago, there were humans navigating the ocean, and I just have to say, I come to you as a student of Nainoa Thompson. Thank you, Nainoa. Navigating this perilous time, but cause for hope is now we know what we could not know until right about now. Go back 500 years ago. Earth was a very different place. For the first time, Europeans were making their way all over the world, and they thought they were discovering the Pacific. With those early voyages, not mindful of the thousands of years and the many people who had already looked at the Earth, looked at the ocean as home. Recently, I had an opportunity to meet with the astronaut who took the image of Earth from space that is famously known as Earthrise, William Anders. He convinced NASA that it was okay to take a camera along with a long lens that enabled him to take that iconic view, but he said that his favorite view was another photograph that he took, and that was the blue face of the ocean, the Pacific, the blue face of the Earth. He said famously, "The world is blue." The people of the Pacific have known that the world is blue throughout their history. The ocean is largely home for them. But now we, in the 21st century, are beginning to get it, that the ocean makes our existence possible. And it isn't just the air we breathe, it isn't just the fact that the ocean governs climate and weather. The ocean is home for most of life on Earth. And we are so lucky that we live at a time when, literally for the first time in history, we can reflect on the importance of that fabric of life. The chemistry of the planet, of course, is dependent on rocks and water, but mostly it's dependent on the living systems on the land, but especially in the ocean, where the greatest diversity and abundance of life exists, and most of it exists in the dark, below where sunlight shines. I love the conversations I've had with Nainoa about what's under the canoe. It's most of life on Earth out there, down there. 500 years ago, other voices that are not represented here except as we speak for them, other cultures are not represented here except that we speak for them, other societies, other forms of life, the whales, the tunas, the turtles, the krill, the phytoplankton, the zooplankton, all of this splendid, just amazing diversity of life that we need for our survival. And now they need us for theirs, because we have this immense power that did not exist 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, even 50 years ago. We did not have the capacity to do what we now can do. Our numbers 500 years ago were at 500 million. When I came along, there were 2 billion. By 1980, there were 4 billion. Today, we're looking at 8 billion of us, armed with power, technology that enables us to take from the whole world on a level that was simply not possible at any time in previous history. We could, and we almost did, annihilate the great whales, treating them as products, not treating them as fellow citizens, not treating them as a culture of the ocean, with families, with language, with habits, with memories. We know now how important it is. There was a transition somewhere along the line in the 20th century where, instead of just taking whales as products, we began to respect them on other levels. Now, curiously, we're looking in terms of climate as carbon-based units. You know, economists tend to follow the money. Scientists tend to follow the carbon, and it leads them straight into the ocean. It's where most of the carbon that is emitted, not only from nature, carbon dioxide, we're all exhaling it right now, and so do whales, so do fish, so do plants. As they burn energy, carbon dioxide is emitted, but those same plants take it out through photosynthesis, generating oxygen. And it's not just about plants, it's not just about whales, it's that whole symphony of life that's taken most of the history of life on Earth, 4 billion years plus, to create a habitable place for us and the rest of life on Earth. It's taken us about 4.5 decades to significantly unravel those very systems upon I would say which, but I'd like to say upon whom we are dependent. We're talking about creatures with lives of their own. We need to treat them with dignity and respect. We know how to kill. We have to do a much better job of learning how to care. This is a moment in time when, for the first time, we can see, because of the technologies that we've mastered, to project into the future. We have the technologies to go high in the sky, to gather evidence, to go deep in the ocean. I mean, for a while, there were more people who walked on the moon and who were able to go to the deepest part of the ocean. It's only been in the last 2 or 3 years that we now have just over the number of people who've walked on the moon who have been to the deepest part of the ocean. The first time, 1960, when 2 men went to the deepest part of the ocean. Most recently, just last year, the son of Don Walsh was taken in a craft that took him to the deepest part of the ocean to be a witness of life in the sea from the surface to the greatest depths. Okay, so here we are. The world is blue. What can we do, individually and collectively? No one can do all that needs to be done to go from this trajectory that is pointing inexorably to tipping points that civilization will not likely recover if we exceed the boundaries that we are so perilously close to achieving in terms of temperature, in terms of the loss of biodiversity. More than 1 million species may be gone by the end of this century if we continue doing what we're doing, treating wild animals simply as products, instead of understanding that, yes, we need to consume, but we don't need to take it all. We changed with whales in 1986, respecting more than just pounds of meat and barrels of oil. We've changed with turtles. They're protected over much of their range. We're beginning to see the pathways in the ocean, ancient pathways of turtles, of whales, of sharks, of so many creatures that established these pathways before humankind even existed. And here we are with the opportunity to know that they exist, to respect them while we respect ourselves, our cultures, our history, our place on this little blue speck in the universe that is in a state of transition from what was 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, when I was a child, to what I see now. We've succeeded in taking like 90% of the sharks. We've consumed tunas down to the point where their future is also at risk, and with it, habits, cultures, the future of the people of the Pacific at risk because of we've taken so much so fast. But the great news is that now we know. There's no excuse anymore to just be locked into habits, goals, the anticipation that we can always take from nature and still have nature left. Nature is in tatters. Nature's in trouble. That means we're in trouble. The goal of establishing for the planet that our thoughts that by safeguarding about 30% of the land, 30% of the ocean within the next 10 years, it's truly ambitious. Think of this. It's taken us all preceding human history to consume nature to the point where alarm bells are going off and we're saying we have to protect at least 30% in the next 10 years, as opposed to the 10,000 years that it's taken us to get to where we are, mostly with our new technologies. What's happened since the 1980s? Our ability to find, capture, and market ocean wildlife has accelerated, but the world has not gotten any larger. We need to think very carefully about the limits of what we can take from nature. How much of nature can we really invest in to secure not just the future of tunas and whales and turtles and krill in Antarctica and all of the rest. We need to secure our own future. We need the wayfinders. We need the navigators. We need a plan, a sail plan, Nainoa. And here we are, like you, Nainoa. I came to this meeting excited about being here with all of these extraordinary, talented leaders, and motivated with hope because of the actions taken right here in French Polynesia just this year to safeguard a large portion of the Pacific that includes homes places for the cultures beyond humans to thrive, to show respect, and to understand, yes, we're all in this together. And like Nainoa, it's what will happen now. That's what really excites me. We have a chance with this brain trust, with all of the languages, with all of your habits, all of your knowledge. This is a point in time when we have the capacity to shape the plan for the future. No one of us can really do it, whatever it is, to change the trajectory from over the cliff to a turning point where we can think about the reality of what it has taken to make Earth habitable for us and what we're doing to destroy it, and how in the next decade we can really do what it takes to make peace with the natural world that makes our existence possible. That should be what underlies our laws. You know, the whales don't know where our exclusive economic zones are. They have other ideas. Bravo to the 4 nations who, just in the past year, Colombia, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Panama, took action to safeguard the passageways of whales and sharks and turtles and tunas off the eastern coast of South America. Bravo for what you're doing here in French Polynesia. Bravo for all of the great initiatives that are moving us to the turning, not the tipping points. And bravo to all of you here. I really am excited to spend the next few days with you, and then to see how each of us individually and how we collectively can take it from here to a much better place. Thank you.